Already one, it's Doc-Fire, and we're back for another Doc-Fire down under review. And today's review is going to be on the ShockTech Gunfighter slider frame. That's right, got one of these. So let's do a little kind of announcements at the beginning. First off, for all my review guys, I don't get products sent to me by the manufacturers. I buy this stuff with my own hard-earned cash and or credit, whichever way you look at it, right? And so that's to create no bias, right? I want to be able to give you guys a review that either the manufacturer is going to like or dislike, but you guys get an honest review, and that's I truly believe in that. And especially with like the paintball, you know, well, at least when I started the industry, was everything was sold, you know, everything was sold up, and you could get sold a piece of garbage and didn't even know it until you got it home. And but anyway, without further ado, let's talk a little bit. So this thing comes from ShockTech. It's about between tax and shipping, about $220 to $250, depending on how fast you want it, and then what options you get. So you can order the frame, and then they have an option of adding on a three-way timing rod, and then their actual three-way itself, the ShockTech 3.0 itself. And so when I bought mine, I already had that three-way, and so I got the three-way rod and this one, and I thought I was getting a raw one, but it was just silver anodized, and which I'm fine with. I'm going to have it stripped and re-anodized anyway. So and so for about 200, I think mine was about $230 shipped to my door, and actually came rather quickly, and I was happy about that. It's pretty nice. So the packaging, cardboard box, it comes in a heavy zippy bags, and it comes with some other stuff. So it comes with some frame screws. We'll talk about that a little bit. It comes with a lug. We'll talk about that. And then obviously when I ordered mine, I got the three-way actuator rod, and so it came with that. So let's talk initially about the frame itself and things that I really like. Okay. So first off, out of the box, it feels good in the hand. And one of my concerns when I saw this online is I was concerned that this arch right here was going to drop my hand down far on the frame, and I like my hand to be as high up on that center line of that receiver. That's just the way I like to play it. I have a little better aiming with it, or i.e. accuracy, whichever way you look at it. I like my hand as high, tucked up as high as possible, and I was worried that this was going to drop it down. Like the hinge frames out there, which I have one right here, you know, your hands drop down and it lowers from this center line of the body. It's lowered down further, and I think it just makes the gun a lot taller, and some potential accuracy issues with it. And then I was concerned that I may just not be comfortable, but what they do is they have it's thin milled here, which is really nice. So it's just a good feel on the hand. They got the nice undercut here, which your finger wraps around, and then any wraparound grips that you get, if you're into those, it'll be really nice. And I'm sorry guys if you hear some car noise. It's just warm here in California. I got the door open in the garage, and so I have some traffic going by. So let the cars go by, and then we'll get going here again. Other things that I like. I like that they include the ShockTech trigger plate, and this one's chrome for this one. Or not trigger plate, the trigger shoe. I've always felt that they're comfortable. They have nice ridges here, and they're tapered on the edge here, which makes just a really nice, comfortable grip on these. So if you have a smaller hand, and I have big meat mitts, it just makes a nice grip, and you don't feel like you have a 90-degree angle there, which is just comfortable. I think they do a good job with that. The anodizing and the finish on this, anodizing is really nice. The finish is not a super high polish, and it's not a dust. Okay, so they didn't dust it, but it is have somewhat of a polish on it. You know, I'm looking for milling lines and milling marks, and there's you know, minimal or none. So if I look at, here's an outcast, and if I try to get the finish in there anywhere, we can see this is the dust outcast, and it's definitely not dust, and it's not chrome. So it's a nice finish. Feels really good in the hand. Just kind of nice features that I like on it. And I see is they have some accent milling on the back, you know, rear grip, I guess, whichever way you want to look at it on that. A lot of people have been talking about this milled out section here that they say, hey, that's really nice. They milled it out so I can run my wrench down straight down to my screw, that is a benefit. I don't think that was the intent behind it. If you look here, which is one of the things I like, is they recessed the rear frame screw. And to do that, the end mill that had to go down there to make that recess would be right in the path of this guy. So I'm pretty sure that's why that is. I'm not shocked that they can chime in on that, but I'm pretty sure that's why they're. But there's a dual benefit for a really long frame screw or Allen wrench. If you didn't have your ASA on or something like that, you'd be able to utilize that to line things up. That's great. It has a front trigger plate stop. You can see that in there, and it's adjustable from the front here. So after it's on the gun, it's unadjustable, right? Because when this goes on the gun, I line things up, you're not going to be able to get to that frame hole screw. So it's one of those that's just unadjustable. In my hand, when I picked this up and was initially messing with it, the one thing that you'll notice is that there is no slop. So this trigger plate in here, when it's between forward and back slop like this, going in this direction, back and forth, there is no slop at all, okay? And it's because this spring here, what I understand is this is a standard Sear spring, okay, that kind of recesses down in this milled out area. It provides upward pressure here, and which pushes the pressure on the rear of the Sear, and then on this front part right here. So that's putting pressure that way, and it's putting pressure up. And when it's doing so, it's pushing this trigger plate forward against this front stop screw, okay? So which makes when you pull this trigger, everything starts moving. There's no slop. Okay, there's no the carriage catching up, right? It's when you pull it, everything's moving, which is really nice. All these joints here are milled where it's a nice tight, no slop, not tight, but no slop hinge area there. And so that's really nice. So it feels very much, like a bearing type surface. It does have a couple glide screws that this frame still traditionally rides on, although the top area, it has a smaller patch that would ride against the bottom of your body. And so depending on how you adjust these screws, how much it's going to touch that, but if it does, it's in a very small patch, so it's going to reduce a little bit of friction there. Okay. Let's see, other things that I noticed that I liked, obviously the standard holes for your ASA. You've got a nice large hole down here, so your Allen wrench is in a tight fit in there. So that's nice. Just some nice little milling holes there. It's just aesthetic wise, it's nice. It's cupped out here for smaller fingers to come up here, but it's more aesthetics. Nice rounded contour edges, so there aren't any sharp edges where your hand runs around or you're rubbing up against something sharp. I do like that. And all in all, it's just got a nice feel. Now let's go through the other items in the box. It's a 3-way shaft. It's a ShockTech version. From my understanding, has not changed much from the past, so that's pretty consistent. But this is the coup de grace. This is what I think is really nice. And ShockTech, correct me if I'm wrong, this is for the hammer lug, what I'm assuming it's for. It's just not a replacement one of these. A Sear, I think it's just an additional, it's for your hammer lug. And so if you look at this, it's nice and polished, okay? And I've run my fingernail across it. There's no ridges on it, so to give you a nice hammer lug to replace the factory one, so you have this nice polished, high quality hammer lug, which I think is nice, which is going to aid in the release of the hammer for a nice smooth pull, that smooth transition. Now there's been other companies out there, A&S in particular, that has kind of done back in the day, kind of this kit setup, which I've always liked, right? Is you get they would sell the frame. You got their three-way coupler, and they put a lug in there because they basically wanted you to sell you a kit that was actually an improvement from what you were going from. It wasn't like nothing against benchmark frames, but I bought a standard benchmark frame, and you slapped it onto the gun, and you didn't really notice any difference except it was made of aluminum or a different color, and or whatever. And so you had to do some modifications or some tweaking to it to really get that nice kind of feel. Or if you wanted like a Bell Sales Angry frame feel, you're buying smart parts, roller sears, and polishing parts. And so, like A&S did, they kind of looked at that, and for, I think it was $100. I think is what the quick fire frames cost. You got that. You got their three-way coupler, which was a really nice design, and a lug, and it was a full package. And so you put it on, you actually felt like you did an upgrade because it actually felt different and felt smoother. And so that's kind of one of the key things. They offer a package incentive type of deal where you get a little different prices on things. If you buy their three-way, you get it for instead of $39, I think it's $29, so you save $10, and I think you save a couple bucks on their three-way shaft. So, all in all, nice package setup. For what I got, and mine didn't come with the three-way. I just got this for about $230. These parts you see right here. Beer of the day. Firestone Walker Brewing Company, 805. It's a California company, I think it is. No, I think it's Coast of California. It's good. 805. It's good beer. If you've ever had it, give it a try. Pretty good stuff. They don't send me free beer either. Be nice. Let's see other things. I'm trying to think of anything else that's. Oh yeah. Okay. So the branding on it. Got Gunfighter on both sides. Got ShockTech on the left side. It's nice, looks good. It's not overdone. It's not, no offense, ShockTech. I never liked the SLF guns or whatever they were, where they said, ShockTech was the big mill pattern down the side. Drove me nuts. Never bought one because of that. Hated that. I stayed away from those guns because of that reason. But that's my personal preference. And, some people like that. Just I don't like it. So things that I don't like, and let me clarify here. They're going to be minimal for the most part. They're going to be more annoyances that I feel that are annoyances. You may feel or you may not feel it's annoyances. You may think I'm crazy for it, but whatever. I don't care. This is it's my viewpoint, and take it or like it. I love living in America, right? So the biggest thing that I hate is the use of Loctite, especially on small screws. And they use Loctite on these small glide screws and a couple other stuff. And I understand they have to on some of the stuff. I get it because you don't want things to fall apart. You want it to kind of set up from the factory and stuff like that. But ShockTech uses this green colored Loctite, not the typical green Loctite that we see that's designed to put diesel piston sleeves into the cast iron thing and lock them in place. Not that, like weld-in Loctite, the green stuff. The green stuff they use is it's after the part's assemble, is they dab a little bit or they drop a bead on there, and it wicks into that part area and then hardens. And so it's about the strength of blue, maybe a little bit less, but it's still hard enough that I felt like on these two bottom screws I was going to actually bend the Allen or strip the Allen in the head. And I was really worried about it. I wanted to be able to adjust these if I wanted to. I know they have it on this front stop screw. I'm not worried about that. And I don't know where they have it else. If it's they probably need it on this lug back here. It's a nice. I don't know if that is adjustable or not. I'm pretty sure I know it's adjustable, but if they've locked it into a certain height, I probably shouldn't have to mess with that. But we'll see. There's a little set screw. There's the adjustment trigger pull. So this bottom screw down here adjusts how far the trigger comes back, and it's a stop, right? So it's inside the spring, and it stops how far this travel goes down. And it's very similar to the hinge frames. They have a little screw in here that does essentially the same thing as how far that trigger comes back. It had a stop screw about the same type of location. And then they have a set screw right here. And I did take this out. It's just a metal set screw. and it binds up against metal threads. And so if you tighten really hard down on that, if you ever were to pull out the screw for whatever reason, for re-anodizing, you may gum up some of the threads, the aluminum threads in the body itself. So, you know, it'd be nice to have like either a nylon set screw in there, or what you can do if you don't want to have to, you know, go and buy a new little screw, folks, is get a little bit of three-way hose and just slice off just a little sliver of it, drop that down in the hole, then put the set screw on top of it, then screw it down. It'll provide that cushion of this PVC or whatever pipe this is made out of, whatever that plastic's made out of. It will bind up against those threads like a nylon set screw, and it will lock them in place, but it won't damage anything. So it's a quick fix with what you have there. But my concern is someone's going to crank down on that. They're going to gall the threads on this adjusting screw, and then it's going to mess the threads up in here. So if you have one of these frames and you're worried about that, that's one trick you could probably do. Other gripes, okay. Everywhere in this gun, they've done really good deburring, except in the rear glide screw, front glide screw, and this hole for the front frame screw. I'm thinking it just got missed. And if I can bring it up here, it's a little sharp here. And it's not going to cut me sharp, but it's just a little sharp. And that's kind of annoyance. I'm going to re-anodize it. I'm going to have that all buffed away or away. But it's not going to cut me. It's just enough sharp that it may bother me after a long day of playing. But if you have wraparound grips, you won't notice it at all. I'm not a big wraparound grip person, but that was a gripe, not the end of the world. Okay, it could have been just overlooked. So ShockTech, have your deburr person, make sure they're hitting those spots pretty good there. This is something that kind of drives me nuts, and I'm probably going to take a lot of flack for it. But T-slot this, okay? And I know not everyone uses the pop, ASA, or whatever. It's kind of more and more becoming an industry standard. You're seeing more and more guns do it. They used to have the dovetails, and it was always hit and miss. The dovetail would fit. T-slots seem to have enough wobble in them that you can adjust them for different things. And I get it's a one more milling thing, but you're already here milling these holes, right? So might as well do it one more time. But T-slot would be nice. It gives options out there. That's kind of one of my gripes. So some people may not like it. And it's another thing. So you get this thing. It's about $230, I said, and you get these things, and that's nice. And I said a full package kit. Can we throw in some grip panels? And I know everyone has their own flavor of grip panels, and that's probably going to be the excuse. Well, everyone has their own flavor. You know what? If I was at a store and I pulled this out of a box, and I really wanted to feel like in my hand without grip panels, I have an idea what it's going to feel like in my hand. With grip panels, I really have an idea what it's going to feel. And honestly, these Hogue Swell, they feel great, and it really is good, nice, comfortable. It actually even makes this arch back here even disappear even more because how your hand grips to it. But anyway. Grip panels would have been nice. They're not that expensive in all essence. That would have been nice for the price, but that's just my viewpoint of that. I'll take the heat on that, whatever. And then I'm trying to think, there's a couple of things. Oh yeah. So there's an estimated 50,000 plus resurrection guns out there, autocockers or whatever. Markers are not guns, or markers, and with that is this won't fit that body because it doesn't have the rear frame hole, and the holes aren't recessed for those locator pins that they have. Now I get it. If you put a recess in this front hole here, you're going to lose that front trigger stop. But if I were to, honestly, I have cap frames. The Cat Groovy frames have these front trigger stops. The reality is, folks, let me find a three-way. This three-way rod right here is going to stop on the front of this aluminum frame. It's going to stop no matter what, and that frame's going to stop. Now, there is a little bit of slop, and you can fix that by making the diameter of this a little bit bigger. And this is that's an A&S one. I haven't even checked to see if your guys is just a tad bit larger diameter. It may be, it may not be. But there is a little bit. This one, so you can see. And I get it. Is you're trying to reduce that, but the reality is this will stop everything. You can make this hole a little bit smaller on your trigger plate to where it fits this guy a little bit better, and get rid of that hole, that screw that you can't adjust anyway unless the frame's off of there. So you're taking it off, readjusting, putting it back on, hoping you get it right. I would have rather had the recess hole here, a little longer beaver tail here, with that second screw for the Resurrection, because there's a big marketplace out there that may like these frames more than they like that Resurrection hump trigger. So just food for thought on that. And my final dislike, I think it's my final dislike, $230 for a gun. Thanks for the frame screws. Wish they were stainless steel. Black oxide, great. Garbage can. I'm not going to use them. I'm going to use stainless steel stuff if I can. That would be nice to have. So, like I said, things I really like, guys. The lug, great ano, nice and tight. Oh, well, before I forget, one last thing, and I'll go for the things I like. When I did take this out of the box initially, there was no oil in here. Nothing had been lubricated up. No light machine oil. Just some 301. There's no O-rings in here, so it's not going to hurt anything. I put this on pause, and I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Had a little phone call there. Like I said, they're downloaded videos. So a little bit of oil. And so what I'm talking about in oil is I picked this up out of the package, and I, just like if I heard a store, the first thing I do if I was a store, I pick it up and go, how's it feel? And it felt just dry, and it wasn't nice and smooth. And I'm like, wow, okay, $200 and some, and it doesn't feel much better than what I have. Because they may not have it necessarily on the gun. They may not have shot it to know what it does. So I just put a little bit of, oil in here, 3-in-1, whatever, and it made a world of difference. Okay, it was night and day. And so, if I picked this out of the package and it had a set of grips on it, right, and had a little machine oil in it, just a little bit of oil, a little lube in there, and I was like, oh damn, I'm going to pay $230 for this all day, every day, because it just feels good in my hand, not even on the gun yet, right, or the marker yet. So anyway, just food for thought. That's something that I would say would be nice to have. That's just I don't know, just sellable type of things. But I guess I'm not the guy that's trying to make money on it, so maybe I'll wait till they're lower in price. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to test this as how I purchased it. So I'll put that lug on a hammer. It's going to go in this gun, which is a Hinge gun, and initially I'm going to test it just with these pneumatics on it, meaning that the stock War Games, this is a completely stock War Games gun. There's nothing done, there's no hammer, bolt, anything that's different on it. It's completely stock. And I'll try it with this, with their hammer, or with their lug, ShockTech lug, and I'll see how it feels in the hand. Now, we've all seen the videos of how fast you can rapid pull these things, and I have no doubt that those OG guys that probably don't have the super fast fingers anymore were able to rip through that stuff pretty quickly. So that's great. I'm not going to go into that. I don't have a super fast finger. I really like a nice trigger pull, because I kind of look at the benchmark of triggers for me when I look at trigger plates or trigger frames. And let me grab one real quick. When I go to not benchmark frames, but the benchmark in general is the Angry frame. And this is an Angry with a, it's funny, it's got one of those, I don't know what brand that is, I can't remember. It's got a little Angry facing with the little roller balls on the top. Actually, I really liked it. And then it's got a Bell Cells roller sear in it. And so the old Angry frames, these were to me with a nice brass tip or nylon tipped glide screws, were phenomenal. And as long as you polish your sear and your lug, this is an outstanding, feels like it's riding on glass and oil frame. So that's my benchmark on a slider. Now this feels pretty darn close after I put a little oil in it. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see everything feels with it on the gun, and I'll have that video shortly after this one. Alright, it's Dogfire, and I'm back for round 2 of the Down and Dirty videos. ShockTech Gunfighter new slider frame, and let's go over some of the installation stuff that I did. So I have it all set up on this gun. It's all aired up and gassed up right now, and this is on a factory outcast, factory pneumatics, including the three-way shaft. The hammer, the only thing that's changed is this frame, and the lug that's on the hammer is the ShockTech lug that was delivered. And then obviously I had to do some timing changes. Kind of interesting here, there's a little old school stuff, I guess. The end of game compression barrel. This is kind of a neat, it was the suppressed barrel. It's kind of interesting. Neat barrel. Too bad if none of the paint fits it anymore. It all rolls through. Nothing fancy here. So this is pretty much a stock War Games gun. No valving, nothing special in it. So and stuff like that. I was going to initially throw on the ShockTech Bomb 3-way, which, you know, back in the day, these are the only 3-ways I ran for the longest time. I just really enjoyed how they worked, and they worked. I've just had nothing but good luck with them for being a kind of a shorter 3-way. I'll explain that here in a minute. But I wanted to throw it on a gun, like, so if someone went down to a shop, they saw this frame sitting there, and they said, hey, look it, I want that frame. And all they had was money for the frame, and they had just a standard cocker, and the shop put it on for them and did initial tuning. You know how that went, and so things like that. So some of the things during installation that I knew that I found out that was kind of different is, I'll go up a little closer, is this trigger shoe. I had to flip it over because I had to take the trigger shoe off to even get this screw in there. Even by pulling this back, it wouldn't allow any space to allow that screw to go in there. So actually, I think I don't know if it's the right way. It's still super comfortable, so I don't really care. But if I had it, this longer part up here, it would travel too far up, and I would have to take this trigger shoe off every time I wanted to take the frame off. And so I think it just was installed upside down from the factory. I think. ShockTech, weigh in here for me. All right. If not, you can flip it over if you're planning on taking your frame off to maintenance your gun for whatever reason, and you can install it this way, and it's still just as comfortable. It feels actually great, and it doesn't bind anywhere. So that was one of the things I noticed. You've noticed the rear frame screw, nice and flush there, and I wanted to put this on without the ShockTech 3-way, and to kind of show that if I wanted to know if you needed it or not. Hey, do I need this 3-way or not? And all in all, guys, got this thing on, and I did a little bit of tuning on it because this was a hinge on here before, so I had to do a little adjustments on the actuator rod and from a hammer. And I'm going to fire this, and I'm holding it cockeyed, and I'm not going to do some wrapping. You guys see how fast this thing shoots. So this is what I want to show you. Let me grab a piece of paper here. So this to get you an idea. If I can get everything here, if I get everything lined up here, if I just hold this piece of paper there. Oh, yes, so it is. Put that little paper right there. So you guys know that it's not. Let's see if I can turn it sideways. Okay, so it's suction timed, guys. That's the key. That's what I'm trying to show you. It's suction timed. Now I'm doing that with my finger, and it's hard doing this in the and so I'm not really good with how the camera is, and I don't feel like moving the camera around, and I don't have a super fast trigger, but I'm going to really slowly You guys can see I'm going to really slow the trigger, or move the trigger back slowly. I'm holding it. I'm going to try to get to fire. Okay, that's fire, and it's right, literally, it's right on. And so I have to say, I like it. I like it a lot. They got it. This works good, guys. You see, there's not a fancy gun here. This isn't anything special. It's a standard War Games Cocker. It works good. I am very happy with it. This thing's suction timed, and not that that's a big deal. It's kind of hard to time it conservatively. Actually, it makes it kind of tougher. You almost want to time it right on that edge. Right on that edge, it seems to work a little bit better. Trigger pulls, nice. I have heard from some of my friends that have it that the two glide screws on the bottom, they said they could probably improve the quality of the slide feel to be even more glassy if they had brass tip screws. And I guess they're, I don't know, they're not brass tip, they're metal tip, but they're not a set screw. They're the flat top screws in there. But outside of that, I'm not using the bomb three-way on this. Don't need it. Don't get me wrong. I love these things. They work great, okay? I don't need it. Sorry, ShockTech, I don't want to take sales from you, but if you're looking for a three-way, you know, the bomb three-way, Deception Designs three-way, the Bell Cell stuff, all good stuff. You can't go wrong with them. They're all high-quality made parts, and generally you're not going to have any bad luck with them. So, out of the box, down and dirty, worth the money. Thumbs up, Dogfire down.